Did you know that millions of people could be forced to leave the UK by 2025 due to new immigration laws? It sounds extreme, right, but it's happening. The UK government is tightening its grip, making it harder for anyone who doesn't fit their narrow definition of a desirable immigrant to stay in the country. If you're thinking about moving to the UK or already living there, you might want to rethink your plans. Everything is about to change. New rules will make it nearly impossible for families to reunite, limit job opportunities for foreign workers, and introduce higher financial barriers for anyone hoping to stay long-term. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Imagine having your work visa denied simply because of a small mistake on your application, or being forced to leave your home in the UK because your visa doesn't meet the stricter requirements. The UK, once a land of opportunity, is now a fortress as the government cracks down on immigration. Millions could find themselves locked out of a future in the country they've called home. And it's not just immigrants at risk, it could affect the entire UK economy, triggering a labor shortage in critical industries like healthcare and technology. Stay tuned to find out exactly why these new rules will change the future of immigration in the UK, and how they could impact you, your family, and millions of others. This is something you can't afford to miss. Number 1. Tougher work visa requirements. As we head into 2025, one of the most significant changes in the UK's immigration policy will be the tightening of work visa requirements. The new rules are designed to address concerns about the country's labor market, focusing on skilled workers and their eligibility to live and work in the UK. But for many, these changes could mean barriers to entry that weren't there before. So what exactly does this mean for potential migrants? First, let's talk about higher salary thresholds. The UK government is introducing new salary caps, meaning applicants will need to meet a much higher income requirement to be eligible for a work visa. For example, skilled workers might need to earn at least £30,000 or more annually, depending on the role. This is a sharp increase compared to previous thresholds, which were already considered high. But it's not just about salary, there are also additional qualifications being introduced. The government is prioritizing people with advanced degrees, professional certifications, or specialized experience. For instance, a person with a PhD in a relevant field may have a better chance of being granted a work visa over someone with just a bachelor's degree. This means that if you're looking to move to the UK for work, having the right qualifications is more important than ever before. Moreover, employers are facing stricter responsibilities. They will have to prove that they can't find a UK-based worker to fill the position before hiring a foreign national. This labor market test is being expanded to ensure that the UK workforce is prioritized. In essence, these tougher requirements aim to attract highly skilled individuals, but they could make the process harder for many who don't fit the new criteria. So if you're planning to move to the UK in the next few years, it's important to start preparing now by upgrading qualifications and exploring alternative pathways like investor or entrepreneur visas. Number 2. The end of EU freedom of movement. Since the UK's exit from the European Union, the most profound change in immigration policy has been the end of free movement for EU nationals. Prior to Brexit, citizens from EU countries could move to the UK without needing a visa, allowing them to live, work, and study with ease. But as of 2021, that all changed. Now, EU nationals must follow the same visa application processes as people from non-EU countries, significantly altering the immigration landscape. For many, this shift comes as a huge surprise, as it effectively removes the ability to live and work in the UK without any bureaucratic hurdles. This means EU citizens are now required to meet specific visa requirements, such as job offers, salary thresholds, and qualification standards, just like other foreign nationals. To illustrate the impact, consider the statistical drop in the number of EU migrants to the UK. The latest government figures show that EU immigration has already fallen by as much as 30% compared to pre-Brexit levels. This has led to labor shortages in various sectors, particularly in industries that relied heavily on EU workers, such as healthcare, construction, and hospitality. But it's not just about work, family reunification is also affected. EU citizens no longer have the automatic right to bring their family members to the UK. This change forces families to navigate the rigorous and often expensive visa process, which can be a difficult and time-consuming task. For those EU nationals who had plans to settle in the UK, this change creates a whole new set of challenges. To maintain long-term residency, they'll need to apply for a work visa, which comes with its own set of hurdles. As a result, many are left reconsidering their future in the UK, with some already choosing to return to their home countries. In short, the end of EU freedom of movement marks a dramatic shift that could impact millions of EU nationals. Number 3. Increased immigration fees. One of the most significant and controversial aspects of the new immigration rules is the sharp increase in immigration fees. For years, the cost of applying for visas, residence permits, and citizenship has steadily risen, but 2025 marks a new high. These changes are set to hit many immigrants hard, especially those who are already facing financial challenges. Let's break it down. In the past, work visa applicants could expect to pay anywhere between £500 to £1,000 for a single visa application. But under the new rules, these fees are set to double or even triple in some cases. For example, an individual applying for a skilled worker visa may now face fees up to £2,000 or more, depending on the type of job and duration of stay. The cost burden doesn't stop there. There are also additional charges for dependents and for those applying for indefinite leave to remain or citizenship. These rising fees are part of the UK government's effort to curb immigration and generate revenue. The government argues that the fees are necessary to fund services and immigration processing. However, many critics believe that these increased costs are unfair and discriminatory, particularly for families and low-income workers who are already struggling with the high cost of living. For immigrants planning to settle in the UK, the price tag can be a significant barrier. Those with families or multiple dependents will face even higher expenses, sometimes adding thousands to their total cost of immigration. This means that many people will have to make a tough decision, whether the financial burden is worth the opportunity to live and work in the UK. So what can potential immigrants do? It's crucial to plan ahead financially and consider ways to offset these costs, such as seeking sponsorship from a company or exploring visa routes that might have lower fees. But one thing is clear. The higher fees will force many to rethink their plans to migrate to the UK in 2025 and beyond. Number 4. Restrictions on family reunification. The new immigration rules set to take effect in 2025 also bring a significant challenge for families: tighter restrictions on family reunification. Under the current system, it's already difficult for non-citizens to bring their loved ones to the UK. But the new rules will only make this process more complicated and restrictive. For many, this could mean facing long separations from their spouses, children, or elderly parents, turning what was once a straightforward process into a lengthy and stressful bureaucratic ordeal. One of the key changes is the higher income thresholds required for applicants to sponsor family members. To bring a spouse or child to the UK, the sponsor must meet a significantly higher income requirement, £30,000 or more annually. While this might seem manageable for some, for many families, especially those in lower income sectors, it becomes an insurmountable barrier. The emotional cost of not being able to reunite with loved ones can also be profound, as families are forced to live apart for extended periods or even abandon their plans to settle in the UK. Another aspect of this shift is the limited number of family members that can be brought in. While immediate family members, spouse, children, may still be eligible for visas, extended family members like parents, siblings, or grandparents will find it much harder to join their loved ones in the UK. The government's stance is that family reunification should be reserved for those who are considered essential to the UK's economy or social well-being. But for many, this policy feels exclusionary and heartbreaking. For those already in the UK on work visas, the inability to bring over family members could mean choosing between remaining isolated or returning home. Potential immigrants need to carefully consider whether they can afford the financial and emotional cost of these restrictions before making a move. In conclusion, these changes are likely to have a devastating impact on families looking to reunite in the UK, forcing many to reconsider their long-term plans. Number 5. High visa refusal rates. As the UK tightens its immigration rules, One of the most concerning consequences for potential immigrants is the rising visa refusal rates. While applying for a visa to the UK has always carried some risk, the new rules and more stringent requirements have led to a dramatic increase in the number of visa denials, leaving many hopeful migrants facing uncertainty and frustration. In the past, applicants for work visas, student visas, or family reunification often had a decent chance of approval if they met the necessary criteria. However, under the new system, visa refusal rates have increased by nearly 40%, according to recent data from the Home Office. This means that more people are being rejected at the first application stage, even if they meet basic requirements such as financial stability or employment status. Why is this happening? One of the key reasons is the higher scrutiny given to applicants. Immigration officers now have more discretion to assess an applicant's suitability for a visa, and many applications are being denied based on small technicalities, such as incomplete paperwork, errors in forms, or minor inconsistencies in supporting documents. The slightest mistake can lead to a visa refusal, forcing applicants to reapply and pay additional fees. This is frustrating and can delay plans for months, if not years. Moreover, the increased complexity of the application process means that even small errors can result in significant setbacks. The burden of proof is now heavier, and applicants must provide more detailed evidence of their qualifications, work history, and ties to the UK. This makes it essential to double-check every aspect of the application to avoid refusal. In some cases, even after fulfilling all the requirements, applicants are still turned away due to the overwhelming demand for visas, which leads to backlogs and delayed processing. For many, this could mean that their dream of living and working in the UK is cut short, leading them to rethink their options or seek alternative destinations. The rising refusal rates are a serious concern for anyone looking to immigrate to the UK, making it crucial for applicants to prepare thoroughly and consult experts in order to navigate the increasingly challenging visa process. Number 6. Increased monitoring of immigration status. As part of the UK's evolving immigration policies, one of the most concerning developments is the increased monitoring of immigration status. The government is ramping up efforts to track the movements and residency status of foreign nationals, and these changes could significantly affect millions of people who are currently in the UK on temporary or long-term visas. In practice, this means that the UK is adopting a much more surveillance-oriented approach to immigration. Immigration officers now have greater access to personal data, which can be shared between government departments and law enforcement agencies. The goal is to ensure compliance with immigration laws, but the result is a feeling of heightened scrutiny for many immigrants, even those who are lawfully residing in the country. This means that anyone on a temporary visa, whether a work, student, or visitor visa, will face more frequent checks of their immigration status. This could include anything from routine border checks to more invasive background checks conducted by the Home Office. These measures are part of a wider push to ensure that no one stays in the UK beyond their permitted time, but for many, it feels like a constant state of uncertainty. Additionally, immigrants will now have to adhere to stricter reporting requirements. This might include checking in with the Home Office on a regular basis or updating their contact information each time they move. Those found to be in violation, even unintentionally, could face hefty fines or deportation, depending on the severity of the infraction. While this increased monitoring aims to prevent overstays and ensure that all foreign nationals are complying with the law, it has sparked concerns about privacy and the intrusiveness of these measures. Immigrants may feel constantly under the microscope, which could lead to mental stress or even prompt some to leave the UK entirely, fearing that any misstep could result in legal consequences. For immigrants planning to stay long-term, these changes will mean adapting to a more regulated lifestyle, where even small actions can trigger scrutiny. It's essential for everyone to stay on top of their legal status and comply with all new requirements, as even an innocent mistake could have significant consequences. Number 7. Restrictions on student visas. For those hoping to pursue higher education in the UK, the new immigration rules in 2025 bring major challenges, especially for international students. The UK has long been a top destination for students from around the world, but the tightening of student visa policies may cause a significant drop in the number of international students entering the country. One of the most notable changes is the reduction in post-study work opportunities. Previously, students who graduated from UK universities could remain in the country for up to 2 years or even longer, depending on their degree, to look for work and gain experience. However, the new regulations will limit this period for many students, restricting their ability to stay and work after graduation. For those from outside the European Union, this could be a major deterrent, since many rely on post-graduation employment as a pathway to permanent residency. In addition to this, the UK government has introduced higher financial requirements for students applying for visas. Applicants will need to show proof that they have sufficient funds not only to cover tuition fees, but also to support themselves while living in the UK. This could mean demonstrating upwards of £12,000 in savings, which adds an additional financial burden for international students, especially from countries where the cost of living is already high. Furthermore, tightened English language proficiency requirements will make it harder for non-native English speakers to gain a student visa. Applicants will need to achieve higher language test scores, making the process even more competitive and costly. The restrictions don't stop there. Family reunification for students is also getting more difficult. In the past, students could bring their spouse or children to the UK while studying. However, under the new rules, it will be much harder for students to sponsor family members, leaving many to choose between education or family. All these factors combined mean that aspiring international students will need to think carefully about whether the UK is still the best place to pursue their academic dreams. These changes might push students to consider alternative countries with more favorable visa policies or better post-graduation opportunities. The UK's reputation as a global education hub could be under threat as a result. Number 8. Stricter health insurance requirements. A lesser discussed but equally important change in the UK's immigration rules is the new health insurance requirements for foreign nationals. Starting in 2025, anyone applying for a visa to enter or stay in the UK will need to provide proof of adequate health insurance coverage. This new mandate is aimed at ensuring that immigrants do not become a financial burden on the NHS, National Health Service, which has seen rising costs in recent years due to increasing demand. For many, this policy will come as a surprise. Previously, most visa holders could access the NHS upon arrival in the UK by paying a healthcare surcharge as part of their visa application. This surcharge allowed individuals to use NHS services. But now, they must also show proof of private health insurance. In practice, this means that students, skilled workers, and temporary visa holders will need to find an insurer that meets the UK government's standards before they can even step foot in the country. For immigrants, this requirement represents a new financial burden. Health insurance plans that comply with the new rules can be expensive, especially for families or individuals from countries without reciprocal healthcare agreements with the UK. The cost of securing private health coverage may range from hundreds to thousands of pounds per year, depending on the level of coverage and the duration of stay. For those on temporary visas, this can be a significant challenge, especially for young workers or students who are already juggling tuition fees and living expenses. The implications of this change go beyond just the financial cost. It also creates a bureaucratic headache for immigrants, forcing them to navigate an unfamiliar healthcare system and insurance market before even arriving in the UK. With this added complexity, many people might consider whether it's worth moving to the UK, especially when compared to other countries with more straightforward healthcare access. For potential immigrants, the key takeaway is to plan ahead and budget for health insurance costs. Failing to meet these requirements could lead to visa denials or complications when seeking healthcare services. Number 9. Limited pathways to permanent residency. One of the most concerning shifts in the UK's immigration rules is the reduced number of pathways to permanent residency. As of 2025, the government is making it more difficult for foreign nationals to transition from temporary visas to indefinite leave to remain, ILR, which is the step towards permanent residency and citizenship. Historically, individuals who had been in the UK for a certain number of years on a work or family visa could apply for ILR, allowing them to stay indefinitely and eventually apply for citizenship. However, the new rules are raising the barriers for many potential applicants. One major change is the increased residency requirements. While it used to be possible to apply for ILR after living in the UK for 5 years, under the new system, applicants may have to live in the country for 8 to 10 years before they are eligible. Additionally, the government has introduced stricter language and cultural integration tests. Applicants will now be required to demonstrate a higher level of proficiency in English and an in-depth understanding of British culture, which will involve passing more difficult exams and providing proof of integration into British society. This adds an additional layer of difficulty and cost for anyone hoping to make the UK their long-term home. Another significant change is the reduction of visa categories that lead to permanent residency. For example, the highly popular Tier 2 General Work Visa will be phased out in favor of a more restrictive points-based system. Under this system, only certain high-demand professions will qualify for permanent residency status, leaving many immigrants, especially those in less skilled occupations, without a clear path to stay long-term. With fewer routes to ILR, many people will face the harsh reality that their temporary stay in the UK may turn into a permanent state of uncertainty, forcing them to decide whether they want to pursue a future elsewhere or navigate an increasingly difficult system. For immigrants already in the UK, these changes are likely to cause significant anxiety about their long-term status and prospects for a stable future. Number 10. Impact on UK's economy and workforce. The changes to the UK's immigration policies in 2025 are not only going to affect individuals, but they are also set to have significant repercussions for the UK economy and its workforce. The UK has long relied on immigration to fuel key sectors, including healthcare, construction, technology, and agriculture. With the tightening of immigration rules, labor shortages are expected to increase, and the economy could face a serious strain in several crucial areas. One of the most immediate impacts will be felt in healthcare. The UK's National Health Service, NHS, has been heavily dependent on skilled workers from abroad, especially nurses, doctors, and care workers. However, the stricter immigration rules, along with higher visa costs and increased monitoring, are likely to discourage foreign healthcare professionals from coming to the UK. Already, we are seeing a decline in applications from EU nationals for roles in the NHS, and this trend is expected to continue. As a result, the NHS could face even greater staffing shortages, exacerbating the challenges of providing high-quality healthcare for the population. The construction industry is also at risk. Thousands of workers from Eastern Europe have contributed to building infrastructure across the UK, from housing to major projects like airports and bridges. With the end of free movement and the higher cost of work visas, many in this sector could find themselves unable to fill positions. This shortage of labor could lead to delays in construction projects and increase costs, which would ultimately affect home prices and public infrastructure development. In the tech sector, the UK risks losing its competitive edge if the country becomes less attractive to international talent. The global race for tech professionals is intensifying, and countries like Canada, Germany, and Australia are offering more favorable immigration options for skilled workers. The UK's new visa restrictions may push these sought-after individuals to seek opportunities elsewhere. Ultimately, these immigration changes could lead to a slower economic recovery as businesses struggle to find qualified workers and sectors reliant on foreign labor suffer. The UK's reputation as a global hub for talent could take a hit, and industries that once thrived on international workforce contributions might face long-term challenges. The country will need to rethink its immigration strategy to ensure it doesn't suffer economically from these tightened policies. The new immigration rules coming in 2025 will undoubtedly reshape the lives of millions, both in the UK and beyond. With higher visa costs, stricter family reunification policies, and tougher requirements for permanent residency, the UK is becoming a much less welcoming place for immigrants. While these policies may be framed as a way to protect the economy, they risk alienating skilled workers, families, and students who have long contributed to the UK's success. If you're one of the millions impacted by these changes, it's crucial to plan ahead and understand exactly how the rules will affect you. Whether you're looking to stay in the UK long-term, start a family, or pursue your career goals, these changes are a game changer. But as with any policy shift, there are opportunities to adapt and overcome the challenges. Staying informed is the first step towards securing your future in the UK. We've put a lot of effort into bringing you the most up-to-date and accurate information. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit subscribe. It's just one click and helps us keep creating valuable content. Also, drop your thoughts in the comments below. We'd love to hear how these new rules might impact your plans or experience. Let's keep the conversation going.